To sort out what's happening militarily on the Korean Peninsula from north to south, we turn to Sheila A. Smith, a senior fellow at the Council on Foreign Relations, who joins us now from Washington. Good to have you back. Let's begin with the basics. How much of a military threat does North Korea pose, and to whom?
It's a significant military threat. It has been a threat for over half a century to its neighbor, South Korea. But these days, the significant threat extends to Japan, its neighbor, and a U.S. ally, as well as other countries in Northeast Asia. It's important to remember, too, that it poses a threat to the rest of the globe. The nuclear program under development by the North can be proliferated to other actors, other states around the globe, and we need to remember this.
How do the missile launches today and yesterday relate, if at all, to the nuclear test? I mean, I understand you need a delivery system, so is that part of it, or is there more?
I think that's a significant part of it, but the larger picture for North Korea is that it has an extensive missile development program that it uses to earn foreign exchange. It sells missiles to the Middle East. It also develops it, of course, for its own so-called security interests. But the real issue is whether or not it can develop a long-range or intermediate-range missile capable of delivering a nuclear weapon.
And how will we measure, or how do we know that these tests, the missiles and the nuclear detonation, were actually successful?
Well, that's a hard one to know. There's been 3 intermediate range, longer range missile tests by the North Koreans. One in 1998 that looked very similar to the test that we saw on April 5th. And then another one in 2006, which was a failure very shortly after it began to launch. The North Koreans like to claim that they're successful in these intermediate range missiles, but parts of the missiles fall apart and ended up in the Pacific Ocean. So there's no evidence that they successfully launched a satellite or that they concluded the test with any technical success.
And the nuclear detonation, how do we know that was actually successful?
Well, I think we have, at the moment, we have seismographic information that there was a detonation, an artificial earthquake, as the meteorologists like to talk about. We know that it's a 4.7 on the Richter scale. We have conclusive evidence from the Japanese, South Koreans, Russians, and ourselves. So I think that the detonation did occur. It will take a little bit longer for scientists to analyze the atmosphere and other kinds of scientific data that will give us a better indication of that test and its magnitude.
I'm going to test you here. We only have a few seconds left. But what do you think militarily North Korea might do next? Is there a danger of confrontation with the South?
I think we need to keep that in mind. North-South relations have deteriorated significantly. We are very focused here in the United States on the nuclear test and the April missile test, but the South Koreans and the North Koreans have been having intensely confrontational relations. There's an individual being held by the North Koreans, and I think we should pay attention to the waters in and around North and South Korea.
Sheila A. Smith, I know we'll talk about this again. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me.